Again, make sure your quiz is up there, your crossword on the desk. Quiz on the blue chair, crossword on the desk. Please make sure you don't misplace either one. I'm going to get a 0 for one or the other. You don't want that. On your test, questions, problems you want to see worked out on the test. Again, don't put the test away because I'm going to recollect them. Find this problem on your test. They tell us to find x, y, and z if D is a centroid. D is a centroid. So that point right there, if it's a centroid, what do we know each of these segments are? Medians. If it's a median, then we had the centroid theorem, and we know that like these two segments are congruent for a median. That's 8y. Give me just a second to get this copied down. You should be finding this on your test so you could fill it in maybe or follow along. It's 32. I think I got everything. Remember the centroid theorem. A lot of people got this confused. The centroid theorem said that the centroid is 2/3 of the distance from the vertex to the centroid of the whole thing. That's good if you know the whole thing. If you only know the parts, it's easier to say that from the vertex to the centroid is what related to centroid to the midpoint. If I do just this triangle, and I told you that this was a centroid, and I told you this part right here was 5,
It's 10.
that part would be 10. So how are they related? One is double or half the other, either way you say it, all right? So that's what we need here. So let's do x first. This 6x right here. It's half as much as what? 24. So what should 6x equal? What? 12. Might be a good idea to write this down there on your paper. Divide by 6. What's x equal? Let's go to y. Y is right here, that 8y.
Add 32.
What happened there? It's half as long as that, so 8y should equal what? 16. What's y going to equal then?
2.
Now z was a little tougher because it gave you variables on both parts. You got 9z plus 6 and you got 6z. Well, what could you do to the 6z to figure out what this one should equal? What could you do? What did you do to this one to figure out what this part should equal? Took half of it, right? Well, you could take half of this, but do you really want to take half of 9z plus 6? Probably not. What would you have to do to that? Nah, half of 9 is not 3.
Just put that in half.
What would you have to do to this one?
Put it in half.
Not split it in half. What would you, this is the shorter one, so to get what it equals over here,
Oh, you add them. Yeah,
you double it, right? So what's 2 times 6z?
12.
12z. So now what equation can I set up? 9z plus 6 should equal 12z.
And minus 12 when I
Minus 9z on both sides.
that's 3 z divided by 3.
What's z equal?
2. Yeah, 2.
Remember the centroid theorem again says that that distance is 2/3 of the entire median. or you can compare them as far as this one here being half as long as that one, or this one being twice as long as that one. But that's the centroid theorem. Next one.
Are these in grade yet?
Well, they're not movable yet, but other questions? Start doing your homework. Do what? Questions?
To like an F.
Start doing the homework all the time.
29.
Find this one on your paper. It says, if E is the circumcenter of triangle GRM, they give us this triangle. That's G, O, M. My point there was pretty terrible. That's E in the middle. Y, R. And it says E is the circumcenter. What goes along with circumcenter? You'll have to read me something else here in a minute. What goes along with circumcenter? What's that tell you? Wait, focus. I know I didn't sit the two next to each other when I made up the new seating chart. There's no way. I have to check that out. There's something wrong.
It's like the first time we've ever done it.
So focus. There should be no times. Perpendicular bisector. So that tells you that all of these angles right here are what kind of angles? Right angles. And it tells you that these two segments are congruent, those two segments are congruent, so on and so on. So we know that all the way around the triangle. If circumcenter goes along with perpendicular bisector. Give me something that they tell us.
RT equals 2y plus 4.
Did I miss T right here? That's supposed to be a T.
Yeah.
2y plus 4. What else?
NT 4x minus 12.
Now, the bad thing with that, we know those two are congruent to each other, but do we want to set up that equation? 2y plus 4 equals 4x minus 12. Is that going to help us? No, because it's got two variables in it. What next?
Measurement of angle MTG equals 12x plus 18.
That's this angle right here. 12x plus 18. What do you know about that angle right there?
Right.
So 12x plus 18 should equal what? Can we solve that equation?
Yeah.
So we solve it. That's going to let us know what x is. Borrow there. What's that? 2, 72. 72 divided by 12. Nobody's going to bother to help me out. I'll just make up something. 5, that's what I'll write down.
No.
7.
No.
If you guys don't start getting we will start grading calculators, so start having your calculator out every morning when you walk through the door.
I have a calculator.
Get a
It's just
calculator.
sitting on the table.
Bring it every day, because it's going to start counting as a grade, because the stuff that we're getting ready to do, you can't do without a calculator. So start bringing one every day, and it's going to count as a grade every single day.
6.
Is that our answer? What they ask us to find on this one?
Find the value of x.
Find the value of x.
I have it.
So then steal one off somebody else and get another one. Start bringing one every day. If you don't have it laying on your desk, it's going to count missing grade. You can handle that, right, Max? You don't know if you can remember to bring it every day? Well, then, why can't you get it out? You're not going to use it for any other class, are you?
Yeah, I use it for science.
Other questions? Other questions? All right, put your test right here on this desk. while you're doing that, grab one off of that stack there. Remind me at the end of the class, I'm going to explain what you're going to do with that later.
You gotta read your list. Yay.
Right now, what I want you to do, go ahead and start copying this down. These are today's notes. Today is the, what is today? 17th? 17th. Again, you will need a calculator every day when you come through this door. Wait, I don't have to tell your mom to send the calculator with you every day, do you? So you're going to be able to remember that? Start copying this down. It was up there and I didn't see it. Writing ratios, finding ratios, solving proportions, setting up proportions in geometry. A lot of this that we're going to cover, it's going to get real difficult. If you don't do your homework, if you don't try it every day, you're not going to understand any of it. And we're going to move sort of quickly. So if you don't do it, then you're going to be lost. All right, ratios. What's a ratio?
Like 2 to 5 or something like that. 1 out of 5 or 2 out of 3.
What's it do?
Like every time you have one thing, you have this many of them.
All right. It compares two things.
Yeah.
All right, compares two numbers. Compares two units.
Wins to losses.
Wins to losses, maybe wins to total games, something. So it compares two things, and you got to be careful of that, because when you're comparing wins to losses, is that the same as comparing wins out of total games? No. So you got to be careful. All right, so a ratio, a comparison between two numbers. Or two quantities. Go to the grocery store, you see on every little tag they got on the, underneath the cans or whatever, all the way down through there, that they got a ratio. Cents per pound or cents per ounce or whatever it happens to be. 3 ways you can write a ratio. Please get rid of this. Make sure I'm on pen here. Get rid of that and write it as a fraction with the fraction bar, not the slash. If you don't write these as a fraction bar, I see it all the time, and about half of you will say, oh no, I won't do that. People write it like this. Then do they know how to solve it?
No.
No, they get confused, because if you write it like this,
You don't know.
everybody can tell me right away what's the first thing you do to start to solve that. Cross multiply. If I write it like this, the top way, people confuse themselves.
So what's the bottom?
All right? So write it with fractions, not with the slashes. Another one, 1 to 2. Remember that colon means that. We did some of those problems early in the year where you had a colon. A lot of times, if you have a colon like that, anybody remember what I tell you to put with each one of those numbers? Instead of just putting 1, what do you put? 1, x. Instead of just putting 2, you put 2x. And then remember we had we cut a board and we cut it 1 part compared to 2 parts. This part would be 1x, this part would be 2x, and then if we knew the whole length, we could say that plus that equals
3.
the whole thing solved, right? And then the other way with words, 1 to 2, that's probably the one that we use the least. All right, write this down, skip a little space in between each one. Oh, you stupid thing. Should have known better. Probably want to write this down somewhere too. I forgot to put it on here. hopefully you know a proportion. Proportion just takes two fractions and sets them equal to each other. Takes two ratios and sets them equal. In a proportion, I'm going to write this out here, probably be a good idea to write it. In a proportion, you always have this. What do you think this one is? This one? You have four parts in a proportion, first, second, third, and fourth terms. All right? You have extremes, you have means. The extremes of a proportion, which ones of these do you think? Let's write it this way. Sometimes you'll see a proportion that'll be written this way. First, colon, second, equals, third, colon, fourth. Which ones would be your extremes? Think about what's extreme mean. Extremes would be the ones on the far outsides, right? Those are the ones way out. Then the means are the ones sort of in the middle. So the extremes, give me a definition that we could use for extremes. Extremes are what? First and fourth terms of a proportion. First and fourth terms of a proportion. Give me a definition for means then. Good. Second and third terms of a proportion. Now, a proportion's probably, mathematically, it's probably better written this way, because as soon as you see it written that way, can you tell where the extremes are and where the means are? Yeah, the extremes are way out here, the means are here. Makes it a little easier.
Well, and the extremes, if you cross multiply, will always.
Equal the, so when you cross multiply, when you go to solve, extremes multiplied equals what? Means multiplied, right? The extremes multiplied together will always equal the means multiplied together. And you could, what David was saying is,
They will always be.
you can probably do it easier there than
Because if you have it like that.
writing it this way, right?
If you have it like that, if you cross multiply, the extremes will always be multiplied together if you, they're always diagonal from each other, so like that.
So you gotta remember those little bubbles. I'm sure your 4th or 5th grade or 6th grade teacher, whatever, taught you, right? So extremes and means. I know that doesn't seem like it tells you a whole lot right now, but it will. Please don't get this confused. I know some teacher in the past told you that the mean was the average, right? Well, there's 1,000 different averages in math, and there's a whole bunch of different means in math. Okay, the one mean that you were dealing with then was one kind with mean, median, and mode. That was the arithmetic mean. They just didn't tell you the whole name. What would you do to solve this proportion? What do you do again? Cross multiply. And I'm just going to do this real quick. So you end up, hopefully you remember this. 3x equals 5 times 12 is 60. Divide by 3, what's x equal? 20? How would you, this one, watch on this one. You still gonna cross multiply, but the first thing I want you to do, anytime you have more than one term in the top or the bottom of a part of the proportion, put parentheses around it. So that when you cross multiply here, you actually end up with 2 times 3x minus 5 equals, cross multiply this way, you got negative 52, oops, negative 52. What do you have to do over here on this side? Distribute. Put parentheses around that and you'll remember to do that. Real quickly on this, a hockey player scored 9 goals in 12 games. How can we write a ratio for that? 9 over 12. And what are you going to do with that? Reduce it down. What will go into both 9 and 12? 3 over 4. So what are we saying?
Every game, 3 goals, 4 games.
Every 4 games, we expect that he's going to score 3 goals. So if he played 40 games, we could expect that he's going to score how many goals? 30 goals. And you could use stuff like that to figure that out, but that's just doing a ratio. So be able to write ratios. All right. Write this down real quick. We have here 36 or 26 or something that changes, doesn't it?
Yeah, somebody.
I'm thinking like 16 or 18 or something, but it's different.
It's 16, 18, or 26.
Keep writing, figure it out. 34. Guaranteed there's quite a few of these. I want to get to your assignment. I want to do a bunch of the problems off the assignment with you, or have you work them up here. But we're not going to be able to do that unless we hurry. And there's a bunch of these on there. So you got to know how to do these certain problems for this whole chapter and for the next chapter. No. So I have this triangle. Can I just make this side 9, this side 8, and this side 7? Is that the way it's going to work? When I see that right there? What do we say to do? Every time you see something like that, what do you put with each one of those? Make this one 9x, this one 8x, this one 7x. What's perimeter tell us? Distance all the way around it. Distance around the triangle, Robert's always got to be 180, right? Robert, I'll throw something at you, I swear to goodness. Distance around triangles, it always have to be 180? No, the 3 angles of a triangle always have to be 180, not the distance around the triangle. What equation could I set up with something like that?
9x plus 8x plus 7x equals 144.
You're starting to mess it up, isn't you? So 9x plus 8x plus 7x has to equal the whole perimeter, which is 144. How many x's do I have there? Don't say 3.
A lot.
Take off your shoes and count them up. Those of you who said a lot. 24? So 24x equals 144, then what do you do? Divide by 24. Somebody help me out. What's x equal? 6. Is that our answer? What'd they ask us to find?
Find each side, so you plug back in.
So you got to plug back in. You got to take that 6 and plug back in. So let's do this side first. 9 times 6. What's that give you?
64.
54? So one of the sides is 54. What's 8 times 6? 48. What's 7 times 6? So the three sides of the triangle, that'd be the length of the three sides of the triangle. But you gotta remember that. You see this right here? Key thing, you got to know, put an X with each one of those, then set up your equation. Alright, write down the top one first. Don't worry about the bottom one yet, just write down the top one. Ratio of the measures of the three angles of a triangle are 5, 7 to 8. Does that mean I can make this angle right here 5?
No,
You get it 5x.
It's going to be 5x. What's this angle going to be?
7x.
7x and this angle? Now again, do you go by what your drawing looks like
No, but
and say, well, that can't be 8x because it's a lot smaller than these other two angles? No, don't go by that. That doesn't make any difference.
7x plus 8x equals 180.
What is it, Levi?
5x plus 7x plus 8x equals 180.
Robert, three angles of a triangle always add up to 180, right?
Yeah.
Oh, darn it, sorry.
Is that why you quit wrestling? Is that what wrestling does to you?
Yeah, right.
Makes you...
You asked me too quick, I was trying to start band.
How many x's do I have? 20 x's? So 20x equals 180 divided by 20. What is it? Is that our answer?
no, you're fine, just
It said find each angle, so we got to take that and plug back in. 5 times 9? 45. So one angle is 45 degrees. 7 times 9? 63 degrees. 8 times 9? 72 degrees. Could you check your answer there to make sure you're right?
Yeah,
What could you do with all those?
add them up.
Add them all up and they should add up to be how much? 180. If we go back to the problem right before this, Robert, are they going to add up to be 180?
No.
No, because it was the sides of a triangle. All right, go ahead and write this down. This is all one problem right here, so write it down. It's supposed to be a proportion. I know my computer skills aren't that great. It doesn't. It's supposed to say 3x minus 1 over 2 equals negative 2 over x plus 2. I'll rewrite it right here. 3x minus 1 over 2 equals negative 2. I don't know if you'll see it. Over x plus 2. Does that make sense? First thing, Levi's over there yelling. He's going to burst here in a second if I don't tell him he's right. So as I get this. Let's go with some blue here. What do you do first, Levi? Gotta put parentheses around these things. If you don't do that, you're gonna get lost. So anytime you have a binomial, is that the right name for that, Tristan? Using your algebra 2, a binomial has how many terms? 2. Anytime you have a binomial in one of those spots, put parentheses around it. We cross multiply here. Watch what happens when we cross multiply. I'm telling you, you've got to be able to do this. This was on your, and I'm going to make a bunch of you redo this. This was on your E-days because it didn't look like to me that a whole lot of you bothered to actually do it. Looked like a lot of you, how'd you get your answers, Levi, on the E-days? Don't, okay, I was going to say, don't lie to me either.
I found the website.
What's 2 times negative 2? Negative 4. And that's fine to use your resources. I don't mind that. But do you still need to know how to be able to do some stuff on your own? Yeah. When we do this right here, what you got to do first, everybody watching, writing this down because this is going to be hard. First thing you do, FOIL. You got to FOIL out. What's 3x times x give you? times
Three X.
3x
3x
squared. That's the first terms. Outer terms, 3x times 2 is what? 6x. Inner terms, negative 1 times x, negative 1x. Last terms, negative 1 times 2. And on the other side, we still got negative 4.
So that'd be
Now what you do, collect like terms over here. You got 3x squared.
5x
That gives you plus 5x minus 2 equals negative 4.
plus 2.
Anytime we have a quadratic like this, you can't do that, and that's what a lot of people did when they were trying to solve this. What you gotta do is on this side over here, you want 0. You gotta move everything to the other side.
Add 4.
So you add 4. You end up with 3x squared plus 5x plus 2 equals 0. Somebody got all that written down?
I do.
Give you a second, because I gotta erase some of this so I can.
And then you do 3x.
Somebody be ready. This is called a quadratic, all right? Lots of different ways we could solve a quadratic. We're gonna do it by factoring. You could use the quadratic formula, all kinds of different ways. You could graph it. Somebody tell me what was that again? 3x squared.
Plus 5x plus 2
All right, now watch. This is what you're gonna do. And if you watch the stuff on the E-Day, if you look through the notes, it told you how to do it. First thing you do, draw your 2 sets of parentheses.
You do 3x squared.
Then you find the factors of 3x squared. What times what will give you 3x squared? 3x times 1x, right? That's the only thing. So we can put 3x here, 1x here. Now, if this leading coefficient, if that number out in front was 1, like all the E-Day stuff, that makes it a whole lot easier, because every time it's going to be x and x in there. All right? This time it's a little harder. Then you find the factors of positive 2. 1 and 2. There's one more pair. What else times what will give you a positive 2? About negative 1 and negative 2. Does that give you positive 2?
So we have minus
Now,
1 minus
we got to decide which one it is. Well, since everything in here is positive, which one do you think it's probably going to be?
1 and 2.
Probably the positive
So
ones.
plus 1
And this is where you guys have trouble at.
and then plus 2.
You put in plus 1 and plus 2, then you got to check it. You can't just go with that and say, oh, I know that's right. It's got to be checked. And the way you check it is by doing FOIL again. Only with FOIL, you really only have to check the outer and the inner terms to see if it gives you that 5 right there. What's 3x times 2? 6x, right? What's 1 times x? What is it? 1x? What's 6x plus 1x? Is that what we have in the middle right there? So that tells us we're wrong.
It's going to be the negative.
Now, does that mean it's the negative ones?
No.
No. What could we do with the 1 and the 2?
So switch with
You could switch them around. If we switch them around, doing outer terms, what's 3x times 1? 3x. What's 2 times x? What's 3x plus 2x? Is that what we had in the middle? So that tells us that it checks out. That's our factored form. Is it solved? No. Now what you do, this is what was on the back of the E-Day, you split it up. 3x plus 2 equals 0, or, what's my other equation going to be?
x. Right. X plus 1 equals 0.
Let's solve that one first, it's easy.
X equals
So, what's x equal? Negative 1, that's one of our answers. Solve this one, how do we solve it?
Minus 2 from negative 2.
3x equals negative 2, and then what? Divide by 3, what's x equal? Will 3 go into 2 evenly? So just leave it as a fraction. And a lot of problems in this chapter, you're gonna have to do that. Just leave them as a fraction. You think you're lost in geometry, you wait till you get to algebra 2. You're really gonna be lost if you can't do that right there. Am I right, Tristan? So Wade, with his head laying down back here, sleeping.
He's doing it.
Always kills me, you wake up and you're on the dog. Not sleeping.
Really wasn't sleeping.
I believe you, Wade. I believe you. All right, we're not going to do this assignment. What I want to do is packet that I have. Do me a favor and pass those out. Let me have one real quick. As soon as Max gets his packet passed out to you, start looking at it. We're going to go over problems. We'll just pick a bunch.
Every single one.
Try to do as many as we can.
Oh, yeah.
So once he gets it passed out, hurry up and start looking. And I'll pick one. I'll pick a. Oh no, I'll do problem 31 just to start us off. So look at problem 31. An artist in Portland, Oregon makes bronze sculptures of dogs. The ratio of the height of the sculpture to the actual height of the dog is 2 to 3, 2:3. If the height of the sculpture is 14 inches, find the height of the dog. So we're setting up a proportion. I didn't go over this a whole lot on the notes because hopefully you've set up proportions before. What's my first ratio going to be here? 2 over 3. All right? 2 is like the sculpture. 3 is the actual height, right? 31. What'd they tell us on the actual height? I'm sorry, the height of the sculpture is what they told us.
14.
So where's the 14 go? Top, because it's got to match up with the other sculpture. You got to make sure you match them up right. This is going to be X, or I'm going to actually use D because it's the height of the dog. All right? What do we do there? Cross multiply. You got to be able to set these up. 2 times D is 2D. 3 times 14 is 42. Divide by 2. What do we get? 21. And our units were in inches. So the dog's going to be 21 inches. Find me another one. Which one? 25?
What? Oh, yeah.
25. The span of the Benjamin Suspension Bridge in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is 1,750 feet. A model of the bridge has a span of 42 feet. What is the ratio of the span of the model to the span of the actual bridge? So we want just a ratio this time. What's going to go on top?
1750.
The model, right? 42 inches. What goes on bottom? 1,750 feet. Now, can we put inches and feet together like that?
No.
Probably shouldn't if you're doing a ratio. All right? On a lot of the problems we do this chapter, it won't hurt anything to leave it that way. But on this one, let's change it. How many feet are there in 42 inches? What do you got to do to the 42 to get
3.5. We should divide it by 12.
divide by 12? So 3.5 over 1,750. A lot of your calculators, if I take Max's calculator here and I do this, this helps out a lot on a lot of these. 3.5, hit the ABC button, 1,750, hit equals, You don't think. Maybe Max's calculator won't do it. A lot of them will reduce it for you. So let's do this, just divide it. How many 3.5s are there in 3.5? 1, how many in 1750? Divide it and find out, quit saying a lot. I think you divided backwards.
What are we dividing?
1750 divided by 3.5.
Okay, I divided.
500?
Yeah.
So what's the scale? For every 1 foot in the model, how many feet would be in the real bridge? 500. So 1 to 500 would be your scale. Remember, that's your scale factor. I should have said that. That's your scale factor. We talked about that earlier. 1 to 500, it's also your ratio. Alright, I know it seems like a lot of problems on here. It's like 38 problems, but a lot of them aren't all that real difficult. Do next time, do, what, Thursday?
Yeah. If we had school tomorrow. And we ain't supposed to ice over it tonight. Yeah, we're supposed to get like negative something, and it's stuff's already melting. It's gonna be iced over.
It's not quite as much as what it looks to be.
What about this little test thing? Do we have to do all of these?
Yep.
What about this test?
I'm getting ready to go over that. Remind me right before the bell rings.
Well, I don't know what time the bell rings.
Look up where it's on the.
Like, where?
Problem number 6. Be looking, find me another one here in a second. Somebody have their calculator out so that I don't have to try to do this stuff in my head.
Now, you hear something?
Do what?
I don't know, just gotta go to the air and. Hey, the bell's about to ring. Yeah, it is. Got 4 minutes.
We cross multiply. Somebody help me out. Do that, and I can do this one in my head. 2.6 or 2.56 times x. What do we get multiplying the other way? 58.59. Then what do you do?
Divided by 2.6.
Now, probably, am I going to yell at Sharice for grabbing her calculator this time?
No.
No, because if we start off with a bunch of decimals, probably our answer should be in what form? Decimal form. Somebody, what is it? Now, the other thing you need to look at, how many places did the decimals go out in the original problem? Went out 1 or 2, right? So we probably want to go out a couple of places. So don't ask me every single time, how do you want this rounded? How do you want this rounded? You want to look at the original problem and see how many places they went out and then round your answer off accordingly.
Do we have to put the answer on the line?
Yeah, I'd rather you did. Give me another problem. Make it easier for me to check. Which one? 18? Problem 18. That's back on the front, isn't
That's a long one.
it? Yeah.
How many of these do we have to do for our homework?
All of them. First thing you're going to do again, put parentheses around this. Cross multiply, you get 2 times n minus 4 equals 8 times n plus 4. Distribute, that's 2n minus 8, 8n plus 32. Get all the n's on one side. Negative 8 equals 6n plus 32. Subtract 32 on both sides. I didn't do something wrong somewhere, did I? 6n equals negative 40. How come I ask if I did something wrong? It doesn't come out even, right? N equals, I know my answer is negative. What I would do with this, just reduce it down. What will go into both 40 and 6? 2. 2 will go into 40 20 times, 2 will go into 6 3 times. I would leave my answer right like that, negative 20 over 3. Even though I know you had a teacher at some point that said, you can't leave it that way, that's improper. You should have had an algebra teacher that said, leave it that way, we don't care if it's improper. Do what?
That's when you say so.
Other questions?
What's the practice for?
Oh, the test. What I will allow you to do is go through and rework all the problems on the test. If you get on Moodle, there's a video on Moodle that says, there's actually 2 of them. It says, if you don't need to do it, then don't do it. Not that, you have to have.
This?
No, I thought it
Well,
was
really
good.
this
So
too.
it says video, test, redo. Because there's another one on there that says chapter 5 test video or something like that.
Can I
But
do
it says
that?
redo. Yeah, you could if you want.
Can you just do the ones you missed? You don't want,
No.
I'm not doing it.
So if you redo it, bring it back in next time. I'll count that as a new grade. So if you wanted to pick up your grade, that'd be a good way to do it.
Just do the whole thing.
Yep, you have to do the whole thing. That's why I took your test back.